Today I want to talk with you about hormones, but if you would again introduce yourself to everybody.
Oh, yes. Hi, my name is Dustin Strong. I'm a nutritionist with Strong on Health.
Okay. Hormones, major topic everywhere seems to be. What are they and how do they regulate the body?
Wow.
Big question.
Yeah, the easiest answer, I guess, to that would be they're messengers. So they're telling your body to do different things. So they're carrying this to go there. And the hormones cover an entire gamut of how you're responding to stress and how your sex hormones are working and regulating all kinds of things in your body overall. Your whole endocrine system is kind of working like a symphony. So it's not just...
And what is the endocrine system?
So the endocrine system are all the organs that are going to be involved in that. So you're thinking, usually we just think of ovaries or testes in men for that, but you've got your adrenal glands, they're your stress handling hormones. You've got the thyroid, thyroid's a part of that endocrine system. And then above that you've got your pituitary, which is the master of all of that, and the hypothalamus, which is kind of like the funnel that takes in all the information and helps, you know, dictate what's going on with the hormones and how they're working.
Okay. So when they're not balanced, well, first of all, what can create an imbalance in them? Well, I know that's probably a lot, but I mean, overall, maybe generally.
There are a lot of things that can create an imbalance. One thing can be your diet, absolutely. People who don't eat enough healthy fats will long-term wind up finding that they're going to have some kind of hormone imbalance because that's your precursors to make your hormones. So if you're not getting enough of the actual things to make them in your body, that will be an issue. Sometimes medications, cholesterol medication, for example, your hormones are made, 100% of your hormones are made from cholesterol, the sex hormones, so that will impact it. And of course stress, that's going to impact how your body's responding. Your adrenal glands being the stress handling hormones, or glands, they are going to be, anytime they're part of the endocrine system, if they are being pushed one way or the other, it's going to affect the entire endocrine system. Okay.
And so when they're out of balance, what happens?
All kinds of things can happen. Your energy levels can be impacted in a major way. Your sleep cycle can be impacted in a major way. Your mood, how you're feeling. Just overall those things that people are looking at to make sure that they are being able to enjoy life, they're going to be impacted by your hormones. And weight, the way that people hold weight, is a huge influencer. We get a lot of people ask us about how do I keep my weight maintained? And if you're not addressing how the hormones are playing on that,
that's the big one.
Absolutely, yeah, they're a huge player in that.
Okay. So in order to, everybody's always talking about keeping them balanced. Why is it so important? I understand that a lot of people, again, we've talked about this, it's part of the aging process and you should just accept it and that's just the way life is. It's just the beginning of the end. So, but why is it important? Does it have ramifications other than how does it overall? Is it a domino type thing that begins to happen in the body?
Well, there are a lot of dangers when you're going out of that. We talked about before, that Goldilocks zone, right? So if you have excesses of certain hormones, especially estrogen, excesses of estrogen have been linked to all kinds of issues, cancerous issues, all kinds of issues with men's health, erectile dysfunction. All of those can be the cause or related to high estrogen. And you really want to make sure that your body has the capability to balance them out themselves. It's always going to try to keep a balance in those hormones, but if you're not supporting its ability to do so, then you're going to have these high levels of estrogen or just an imbalance in general that's going to start to create all kinds of problems in the body.
So you're suggesting that it's within our own capability to balance those hormones?
If things are approached correctly, absolutely. If you're supporting the way that the body's naturally intended to be able to balance these things, then yes, the body's going to be able to do it better than anybody externally. Because hormones change really quickly, and that's what people don't realize. Is you can change your testosterone levels by a factor of 20 to 30% just by how you're sitting or standing within 2 minutes. You can do the same thing with cortisol levels. This was proved by Amy Cuddy in a TED Talk a few years ago. She was taking saliva samples and she'd have them sit one way and then take them again, and testosterone would be higher or lower. So when you're just taking it, depending on what's happening at that moment, you're getting a really small snapshot as to what somebody's hormones are if you're just taking the blood at that time. If somebody's stressed, their hormones are going to be impacted by it very quickly. So yes, there's absolutely a lot that you can do to support that. Supporting your body's clearance of those hormones and supporting your body's ability to make the sufficient amount of hormones is going to be dependent on what you're eating and how you're living your life.
So you're suggesting that your diet and lifestyle
Absolutely. Huge, huge impactors on those things.
Okay. And so what happens if you're not doing that and you're doing, let's talk about the bioidentical.
Yes, well, you see, now, I've said this before, for some
Uh-huh.
people, there is a short period of time where I could see the argument why that would be a good idea. Unfortunately, there's another video that I would have everybody watch by Dr. Michael Greger about bioidentical hormones or exogenous hormones, because there is a risk. There is a long-term risk and a lot of concern with that. So the other thing I think about is if their hormones are off in the first place and you just take a hormone to cover up what you're feeling, you've never gotten to why they went off in the first place. So you're never addressing what it is that you're missing. And if it's something as simple as essential fatty acids, your body needs them for way more than hormones. So other things are going to be impacted negatively if you're just going after the hormone element then. So we're always thinking holistically. What other things in the body are going to be impacted by this lack that we're not addressing, or this excess that we're not addressing? So with a lot of people, the liver has to be supported a lot more. So you see a lot of issues with hormone imbalancing when the liver is not functioning correctly. And you know you need the liver for all kinds of things in the body.
Yeah, because that's your trash can.
Yeah,
so to speak.
your filter,
Yeah.
Absolutely. It does a lot more than just that.
Yeah.
Of course, it helps a lot with hormones and with metabolism and with clearance of toxins, getting the garbage out. Yeah.
Okay, so when you talk about hormones, talk about the difference between men and women with hormone issues.
Well, men and women both have sex hormones. They both have testosterone and they both have estrogen. And it's just about those balances. And oftentimes what you'll find is that men actually have an excess of estrogen and they don't realize it because the liver isn't clearing those hormones. And so they're going to start experiencing symptoms of low energy, or what they would think is low T. But it's not necessarily that the testosterone's low, it's more that their estrogen is too high. Yeah, and that's where you want to focus on that. With women, it's a little more of a symphony. There's obviously things that are happening in a monthly cycle that are going to give you a lot more information, which is great because it informs you as to how your hormones are functioning a lot clearer than it would for a man. I mean, there's there's a few things you can look at with a man, but it's not something that you're getting, feedback on all the time. So a little more complicated with women, I think, but still definitely something that you can manage.
But as we age, isn't this all part of that cycle? I mean, how much of it is can you really reverse if it's part of the aging process?
It's not about reversing it. It's going with nature. And that's understanding that there is something to making sure that you are going with it. When your ovaries, as I say, retire as a woman, it doesn't mean that it's like completely game over and you're not working with those. You still have the adrenal glands that come in and they help pick up a lot of the slack to keep things balanced in the way that it should be in a healthy way. And if they're not being supported, then they're not going to be able to do that as well as you'd like them to. So again, it's about supporting the body and its ability to make these executive decisions for it, as opposed to trying to say, well, we're going to try this and we're going to try that. It's about supporting the body's natural way to do these. And I'm always thinking, what does nature have to say about that? And if this is the course of how things go, yes, you're seeing people get at younger and younger ages going through menopause, and the question has to be why? Why is that? And it has a lot to do with the excessive stress that we're getting. And you'll see in the more stressful societies, the lower and lower that age is, because it does take its impact on the endocrine system, especially in the adrenals.
Well, we're living longer. So longer than what we used to years ago, thousands of years ago. And so, understanding that people probably died, in their 40s, 50s?
Yeah, possibly.
On the average, And so now we're living to 80s, 90s, beyond? So is the body even designed to live that long? I mean, does that have something to do with the fact that as you age, to me, what happens if you are eating right and your lifestyle is good and you still have those issues? What does that say?
Yeah, you're really into some deep philosophical things here. Well, and I think there's something to be said for the body goes through that transition, because at some point you shouldn't be reproducing because your body doesn't have the same capabilities to reproduce such a healthy living being anymore for that. But that doesn't mean you have to be compromised in how you feel. And the answer to that isn't always just applying those hormones that you were missing when you're younger. It's understanding how the body still maintains levels of vitality. And I think, depending on who you ask, the human body designed, I guess you could say, to be somewhere between 100 and 120 years old, given perfect circumstances and not too many stressors and enough of those things that are going to be rebuilding and repairing the body.
Well, it's just interesting because there's so many diverse opinions.
Mm.
Whatever opinion yours is, you can always find somebody that
Yeah,
will agree
of
with you
course.
on it. So it's just kind of it's a very confusing issue.
And it is, and there's a lot of information. I think where there's a concern for me is that there are so many things that should be examined before you go for adding something that the body isn't naturally doing on its own. Before throwing that in, you really should be looking at, well, have we made sure we're eating all of these things that are essential for it? Have we supported the body in all of these ways? Or are we going to just ignore what's going on there and just get for that feel good real quick? And a lot of times people want that. They want to feel something better right away, and I've told people a lot of times, I'm sure cocaine will get you there real quick too.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, there's going to be a bad negative effect to that, and we have to think about things longer term now, because like you said, we're living longer. So we don't want to set ourselves up for failure in the future just to feel a little bit better right now.
Well, and the same could be said for any medication that you take for any problem.
Absolutely.
There's, you know, it may fix that, but there may be a consequence to it as well too.
I think all of them should be looked at with a closer microscope and understanding. Okay, we need this now, but what can we do to keep us from needing it forever? Right. What are the things that we can do? What is happening that's telling us we need this medication now that we can go back and correct, so we don't have to always keep needing that medication? Absolutely, couldn't agree with you more.
Okay, excellent. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, is make sure that you know the risks. I mean, it's very easy to just take something that makes you feel better for a short period of time, and I'm all about making sure people do feel vital and that they can function and get things going. But don't let that be the end of your health journey. Don't let that be the point that says, oh, my problem's solved, just because you're not feeling anything anymore. Because if you look at the numbers in America, they're pretty staggeringly bad. I mean, we've got, you know, 1 out of 2 people dying from heart attacks, and we've got people dying from cancers, and yet we have the best medicine, and we have all of these drugs and applications make people feel good now, but we're not seeing what's the end result. We're looking at actual improving long-term quality of life. There are better answers, so don't stop asking the questions just because you get temporary relief.
Right. Well, and I believe everything should be customized to the individual.
Absolutely.
So, as much as possible, just because it's good for 6 other people doesn't mean it's good for me.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's the challenging part, is making sure that you're making it appropriate to the individual, because there are so many variables in that life. You and I have eaten vastly different things over just the last week, and that's going to change how we're going to respond to everything that's happening right now. I hope that's helped.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, anytime.
Okay.